Showtime.
Dynamite download. Dynamite download.
Dynamite download. Your home for all positive coverage on all elite wrestling.
Promo like the DMV. There.
This is the Symphony Boys.
The
Symphony of five.
Download, you guys. Positive energy. You have a great. Your tribal fruit.
Along, you know, I come along in the.
Well, you know, actually, I did see that, and I was thinking.
John Silver, welcome to the show, John. How you doing?
More than a taste.
More than a taste.
You know,
Cold spray. Tired of the cold spray.
I went to bat to do an interview with those guys. You know why? Because they spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
loving the new countdown, loving the energy, the vibes. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Watch out, Singer Splash behind you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, man. I get to hang out with the Stinger every day now. That's my little guy's like favorite toy. We get to wrestle with that. So
It's an awesome toy. You should get the timeless Tony Storm one.
I didn't even know they had
They have a limited edition of timeless.
Oh
Tony
no,
Storm.
those are the little micro.
No, it's got the micro brawler like that.
Yeah, this isn't a micro brawler.
That's a wrestling buddy.
Okay,
this makes
they have them like that. I don't know. Well, you have to look into it, but maybe you can get a timeless Tony Storm one. But
We'll have to have the Stinger versus Kenny at some point.
Oh, the cleaner.
I want to get a Kenny one. I wanted to get a Kenny and a Cody Rhodes one.
Yeah,
but they're crazy expensive now. They're really hard to find. So, but yeah, I got our buddy Nate sent me the Stinger one for my son.
Yeah,
and he loves it. He loves it. So he gets to have a little like battle with Dad every night when I get home from work or whatever. It's
those things are so fun.
They're so much.
Is
fun.
it like that?
Really cool.
Is it like that WWF In Your House commercial with Sting, where he shows up at the boy's house and the kid is in front of his parents throwing the kid around?
It's similar. What my wife has always asked to eventually play referee at some point because my little guy's really into it. He loves it. But I don't know about you guys, but we're all super pumped about Full Gear. My little guy and I are going to watch on Saturday. He gets to watch Stinger, one of the last times we're going to see Sting in a pay-per-view for AEW. So the countdown is on for the Stinger, and it's one of the cooler matches on this card. Even though, I gotta say, I think it'll be interesting to hear what your guys' top match is that you're looking forward to on this card, because I think that is a very polarizing thing. There's a lot of interesting matches here. And I think that the build for Full Gear has been, pretty solid overall, guys.
This is our Full Gear preview show. This isn't a typical Dynamite download, and I do have the bingo cards pretty much ready. So I didn't want to dish them out beforehand. I know I like to get your guys' picks, but sometimes I flip flop after breaking it down and hearing things. So we'll submit all of our picks. I would say let's do it by tomorrow.
Yeah,
tomorrow sometime, all of our bingo card picks, and we'll post online. You guys can play along. But honestly, I'm really excited about this card, top to bottom. I know we've had some discussions about one or two of these matches, but just looking at this card on paper right now, I think it's pretty solid. I
agree.
It doesn't have to be a home run every single match, but you look at the star power that's on this card. It's great. I think it's fantastic.
Not a lot
not
a lot of weaknesses on the card. And
not a lot of matches where you should be like that should be on the pre-show. In other pay-per-views recently, I've been like that's a pre-show match.
Yeah,
honestly,
you have even the ones that have and we'll get into it match by match, but even some of the ones that don't just necessarily pop or off the card or off the screen, I've even gone back and been like, well, they've really built on some of these. The storyline, the booking, it's been a little bit more focused leading up to Full Gear. I think it's been a little tighter, and it's been a little bit more purposeful. I think each one of these matches has some good backstory behind it. So I'm excited about it, man. I think that they're doing a really nice job. I think Full Gear will be a fun show. And obviously there's a lot of intrigue around certain matches. I'm like I said, I'm really excited about hearing which ones you guys are most pumped for. But each one of these really has
title matches.
Backstory.
7 title matches,
Yeah.
1 title match opportunity on the line, and a Texas death match. I mean, the only thing that doesn't have a true stipulation right now is the trios match. But I mean, that's just kind of like a Legends and awesome storyline as well. You know, we'll do our best to break down, you know, some of our favorite things we're looking forward to. But, you know, Mindhausen, what match are you what's popping out to you right now that you want to kick things off with? Like, what do you want to talk about?
Well, as my internets are cursed, they have been cursed. I am on the phones, but soon I will be back in full powerful. Yes, I will be fully powerful. Looking forward to this entire card. There are some matches I'm more excited about than others, and also just to touch on last night's Dynamite. Traditionally, in my opinion, the go-home shows that weren't as spectacular usually mean the pay-per-view is awesome. I mean, I'm going back to All Out of this year, where we didn't have much of a build after All In, and I thought All Out was tremendous. I think this is going to be tremendous, but of course,
good point.
There were 2 highlights last night on Dynamite that are making me pumped about this pay-per-view, and one of them was the promo that Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland did last night. That's the one. That's the match I am super pumped for. I hope this is 2 of 3. I hope we get a third one. But and you know, Hangman I think had one of the promos of his career last night. But also, even though he didn't say a word, Strickland was emoting and reacting to everything that Hangman was saying, and you felt his presence there. Now, granted, moment of silence for my good friend Prince Nana, who suffered the fate and was beat up and is going to lose his weed money. But I am so stoked for this match. I'm stoked. This is the best Hangman has been in a lot ever, in my opinion.
Wow.
I mean, and that says a lot. That whole his title reign, his whole storyline with Kenny was great, but he's cutting incredible promos, and I think this is a case of iron sharpening iron, because I think Swerve is elevated. And rightfully so, because this is a dude that needs a rocket on his back. And I think, these are 2 of my favorite wrestlers. I'm loving that they're really having powerful promos. They're going to have such chemistry in this match coming up. And again, I hope this is number 2 of 3.
You're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one, Mine. Last time we spoke, that was one of the first things that came to mind for me was like this needs to be a series of matches and I hope that there's a final. I think that the writing's on the wall here, and I think it's fresh off the heels of Hangman's promo. He's not losing at Full Gear after with that kind of fire and intensity in his belly. I tend to agree with you. I do think that this is some of the best work that Hangman has had in his AEW tenure. He comes off confident.
I love hearing you guys say that.
There have been times in the past when he's been in the big spotlight and his promo work has been solid. But I feel like he's coming off sharper. The promo last night, it just was it was delivered with the emotion, the intensity, but it was smooth and it was executed.
And there's no fat. You're right.
It was just tight and it hit hard. I thought it was
for sure.
Really, really good stuff. And some, like you said, SPD, deep cuts, right? He went after Swerve on multiple instances. And the personal level of this feud, that's what I was saying last week. I'm really glad to hear Mind kind of hyping this one up as we get into the Full Gear build here. Is this one really leaps out to me as the match with, even though you have title matches on this show, this one feels like the one that's must see. And I think that says volumes to the work that these two guys have done. Like Swerve, I've said it for a long time. The way this guy operates, he's got it. He's got what it takes to be a top level guy in AEW. He's just a very smart pro that, whether it's promos, like you said, mind the emoting. He didn't say much. Hangman didn't give him much room to talk on Dynamite, but he said plenty with his emotions, his facial expressions. And I think that this match is gonna tell a big story at Full Gear. Hangman is going to, as he said, be the judge, jury, and executioner. I do expect.
I love that line.
A guy like
Loved it.
Swerve, who doesn't bleed. I expect there to be some major carnage from him. I think Hangman's going to put him through hell. I'm really excited about this matchup. I think this is the one that is building, and that's one of the things that's so important, building stars. I think that AEW right now, with some of the things that's happening with Danielson, his injury, with Punk being on the shelf or being out of the picture, Adam Cole being hurt, there's room for some guys to step up in a big way for this organization, for this company. And I think both these guys have done that. And I think that they're cementing a place for themselves in the main event picture moving forward. I'm really geeked to see what comes out of this one, SPD.
Yeah, this definitely is in the top 3 of the card for sure.
For me,
especially with the
absolutely.
build, the talent level. Even could be top 2 if you want to talk about that, but easily could and should probably steal the show in terms of just wrestling wise.
I know you love yourself some Hangman.
I do love Hangman.
Hard hitting. Yeah.
And I've really have liked Hangman a long time, and I loved his rise to the top and ultimate payoff. I think that was one of the biggest payoffs, leading up to it against all odds. Finally winning the belt. But just the talent level these guys have, it was kind of when this feud first started. I don't remember really how it culminated, but it almost kind of was out of nowhere, but it just worked so well because we were kind of like, Swerve should be in the title picture. Swerve should be this. And, then Hangman comes out of the picture, and then Hangman loses, and Hangman took a couple losses. And then now he's just this focused, just this guy who just is on a mission. And I couldn't believe, every word that he said last night, other than throwing in the kind of ad-lib comedy stuff, was spot on. And it was just made me be like, oh man, if I was Swerve, I would almost not want to show up because he is pissed.
Yeah. And I think what's cool about it too is, it's in today's era, and I'm team heel all the way, right? In today's era, a lot of times the heels are the ones that become the most popular. We've seen it even with, Mind is wearing the scarf of MJF, a guy who is so good at being a scumbag that the crowd loved him and turned him into the babyface that he is now. It's very, very common in today's day and age where the bad guys are the good guys, so to speak. The bad guys are the ones that are the cool ones. This is an example where, Swerve has some swagger, right? Swerve is cool, and he feels very real, very natural. Even like with you doing the Prince Nana dances, his little side eyes of like, this dude's a chump. Like Swerve carries himself.
He shakes his head at him like, what, man?
Yeah, he carries himself with a cool vibe, right? But this is a story where the baby face is compelling and is the guy you want to see win. It like, we're gonna get into some matches on this card where it's like, I'm not rooting for the baby face, right? Like, but this is a match where, as a man, as like just on a human level, you're rooting for Hangman Page. Like, his motivations are rock solid. What Strickland and Nana did, like going into his home, getting like looking over in his son's crib, that like violates all sorts of, and I love the logic. Like, the thing is, in today's era, you're like, well, dude, press charges. Hangman addressed that in his promo, right? Like, it was logical what he said. We don't need lawyers. We don't need the police. I'm just going to kick your ass. I'm like man to man. And I love that. And it fits his character so well. It gives him that cowboy, like badass vibe to him.
Yep.
And it makes him so easy to root for in this story. And that said, you're going to have the crowd split because there are so many people out there who are hungry to see Swerve reach that next level, right? I'm really digging this one. I'm really glad that we addressed this one first because I'm geeked about it.
Can I read a tweet from Swerve about 7:30 today Eastern? This is a tweet about the match. It says, people aren't noticing that there are no more bedazzled butterfly jeans, no more ponytail, no more stars on his shirts. I've changed the Hangman. He talks about taking me down to hell. He doesn't realize he's already there with me, and he's enjoying it.
Wow, man, that's awesome.
Deep.
That's awesome.
Dude.
It's so true. It's so true. That's so true. I mean, Hangman, we've laughed at, some of some of the things that Swerve talked about with his
butterfly jeans,
his wardrobe choices, and that has always been a critique on Hangman is like, if this is a top level star, why is he a guy who is the anxiety
anxious millennial cowboy?
Why is he a guy who can't get fired up? Why is it's hard as a fan to get behind a guy who doesn't seem like he cares. And although Orange Cassidy is incredibly popular, he is an enigma. It's not common. Hangman now feels angry. He feels like he has a purpose, like he's driven. Yeah. And that's a testimony to Swerve, man. You're right, man. Yeah. That's a great tweet.
He's the man in black.
Yeah. It fits the character better. And I mean, it gives having Hangman have a little bit of an edge to him. I think it makes him feel a little bit more grown up, and it makes him feel like he's ready to take another step in his career. A lot of the focus right now is on Swerve, and if he's able to reach that spot. But I think that's to me, I think that's a hidden story in this story. Swerve said it very, very well.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
going through a transformation.
I'm sure there's other matches we can talk about, but why?
Yeah, let's get into it.
I mean,
you're right.
Why? I mean, I think we all agree this is the one we're excited about the most. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm really geeked about it. This was when we were kind of brainstorming earlier today about what are our top three matches we're most looking forward to. This one was without question my number one, and so I'm excited that we're addressing it. That said, I mean, there are a lot on this card that I think, right away my mind goes to, and we're just chatting as friends. I think that the Golden Jets versus the Young Bucks is a match that really screams SPD to me. Right? He's a big fan of the Elite. He's a big fan of the
transition. Let's talk about it.
We all know that Jericho is one of your favorites of all time. It's a really great blend of talent, of layers of the friendship layers that come into this dynamic. We're starting to see some heel tendencies coming from the Bucks, which is really fun. I'm really liking that. They're kind of leaning into that a little bit, and I think that their characters fit that really well. And when we talk about building stakes in a very quick way, this match feels like it's got a lot of stakes to it, right? The number one contendership for the tag titles
quickly added a lot of stakes.
Whether or not the Golden Jets will ever be able to team again, which is okay, why do we care? Well, I think that there is some cool vibe about Jericho and Kenny, the way those guys fit together. The Alpha and the Omega, those guys have a long history that predates AEW. And for those guys to come together, I think that it's really given Jericho a new purpose. He's a guy who has always transformed himself. The guy that I'm really digging in this whole thing is Kenny, though. There's something about the way this story has been playing out. He feels more comfortable and more natural. It just feels like a more authentic Kenny to me. The promos, just breaking up Jericho and the Bucks on Dynamite, he felt authentic. It didn't feel like and sometimes Kenny can be, I love Kenny's in-ring work is second to none, but sometimes
That's about machine.
his character work can sometimes feel a bit forced, which I feel like has at times held him back from being perceived as, you know, that top guy. And I realize his in-ring work, he'll always have advocates for him being one of the best on the planet, and you won't hear me counter that. I think Kenny is incredible at what he does, but cutting promos and being a personality at his best in AEW, I feel like he's been in group settings, right? He's either been with the Elite or with Don Callis by his side. So this is an example where I really feel like Kenny is starting to shine a little bit as the adult in the room, right? Jericho is the one who's like kind of poking and prodding the Bucks. He has the ego. The Bucks are taking things personally, and they're kind of acting like immature, childish ones. And Kenny is the adult in the room who's kind of like being a grown man. And I'm really gravitating towards Kenny in this story because of that.
I thought it was very interesting when they talked about how Kenny, with all of his success, you know, when he was like kind of ribbing the Young Bucks about turning heel and all this, he's like, remember how successful you were when what you did? And so it was they were not wrong.
Yeah.
I think this jumped. It's so crazy how Kenny, Alpha and Omega are intertwined with Don Callis, and they have the Young Bucks saga, how this all happened kind of so fast. And I'm really excited for it. You know, the Young Bucks heels are very, very good, as much as I love them as baby faces. As heels,
I'm digging the heel vibes.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
Yeah, I'm digging it.
How this plays out, I really don't know. I mean, I can't imagine. I don't want to see the Golden Jets break up just yet. Lose. But also you have one of the best true tag teams in our modern era right now, the Young Bucks. And so Alpha and Omega are newly tag team formation, but we saw how Omega and Hangman worked out as well. But there's a lot of meat on the bones, I think, with this Elite turmoil and Jericho kind of being the odd man out, even though essentially all four of these guys helped start AEW. I think the foundation for sure. The pillars, the true pillars of AEW.
Yeah, they are. Right.
I'm pumped for this match.
The foundation.
I think we all agree that Hangman was going to win. And when we're talking about our picks, right? I think we all kind of agree that Hangman's going to win that match. I mean, I really wanted to chat with you about this one, SPD, and then we'll throw it to mine. But like, because you're such a fanboy of all four of these guys, where are you going with this? Who do you think is going to win?
It's a win-win for
tough.
SPD.
I know.
No, Jericho and Kenny, I think, have to take this win because it's more compelling, especially with Young Bucks turning / heels. You have heel champs. You know, I would be interested in seeing Alpha Omega versus Big Bill and Ricky Starks, and personally down the line, unless something happens at the Fatal 4-Way at Full Gear. You know, that's another match we got to talk about next. Like, are we going to see title changes in the tag team division, or what? Or what belts do we think that are going to change hands too? Because, like I said, seven titles on the line.
Wild, man.
Which is very wild, and I hope we get a couple just to kind of, you know, I always like
there will be.
Change.
Yeah, I think that there will be for sure.
But this one, you know, without spoiling my bingo card, at this moment, in you know, just behind me is the Kia Forum, a couple miles down the road. I'm going with not the hometown boys. They got their hometown victory on Dynamite. I'm going with the Golden Jets on this one.
All right. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I think that the storyline certainly plays into that.
All right. Putting on my Booker hat and thinking about things. If Jericho and Kenny are disbanded, which is the stipulation if they lose, where does Jericho go from there?
True.
You know, where is his, because he's got the inner circle's gone, thing of the past. You've got the whole Jericho appreciation's done. This has become his new repackaging. You know, Jericho is like the Madonna of wrestling. He's always repackaging and coming up with something else. And I'm not sure where he goes after this. I'm not sure what happens.
No, that's a good point.
And the Young Bucks have been a tag team. I hope someday we do get a Nick versus Matt Jackson feud at some point down the road. Not right
Wow.
now, but at some point, maybe when they're getting ready to retire, it'd be pretty cool. But that's not going
Like
to
the
happen
Hardys.
here.
Yeah.
But I do think it's going to, and some of it's going to, I think, depend on who wins the tag if Starks and Big Bill, if they retain the tag team titles versus.
Let's talk about that one next. But yeah,
I always think it's interesting that whenever you have a fatal 4-way, that usually hints to me that there's going to be a title changing hands where the champion doesn't take the pinfall, so that you could always say, well, we never got pinned, so they could always get their rubber match or their chance to get it back. So
sure.
Usually that's a great point.
I'm going with the Golden Shower Boys or Golden Jets. I'm going with them, but simply because I agree. I think it's too soon to break them up. I think there's a compelling dynamic here. There's this whole, how much did, this whole thing, well, hey, we started AW, but Jericho, put the eyes on it. There's this whole dichotomy of that. I think there's a lot to that. So I think it's Golden Boys, at least for this, to go into the future.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a clean sweep, Kenny the cleaner. I think we're all on the same page. I think that the story, you said it very well, Mind. Putting on your booking hat, I think the story is there for Jericho and Kenny to move forward. If the biggest thing for me is, like you said, where does Jericho go if they break up, if they lose? And I think that's a difficult question to answer. So I think that there's some potential, like a nice run that Kenny and Jericho could have leading up to them. In my mind, I know that you said right away you think that the fatal 4-way tag match leaves the opportunity for the champs to lose, which makes a lot of sense. But I kind of went the other way, where I think that Big Bill and Ricky are going to win that match. I think they're going to retain. And when you beat three big challengers on the scene, it right away opens up the door for the Golden Jets. I think that this is going to be a situation where Ricky Starks and Big Bill are going to do what they normally do, especially Ricky, take advantage of chaos going on. I think that the House of Black, FTR, LFI, there's going to be some, let's just put it like there's going to be a lot of craziness in this match. I think there's going to be an opportunity that presents itself where Ricky seizes it and they win the match kind of on a fluke, so to speak, just to keep that run going and keep that kind of like that vibe to Ricky Starks. He's right now leaning into this heel thing. I think that Ricky and Big Bill are too hot to have them drop the belts at this point. Ricky is really a guy who I think that AEW is looking at as a key player on the scene on Collision. Given the changing landscape of that show, it's very evident that they look at Ricky as a top guy on that show. Not to say that, if you were to thrust the belts on House of Black or FTR or LFI, not to say that none of them could carry the torch, but I think that there's still more there for Ricky and Big Bill. I'm liking that pairing a lot. And I think that I agree. If they beat those three, it sets it up where Ricky could cut some promos about how, they're better than the best, they're better than the best that this organization has to offer. We've been thrown together. We're a tag team that was thrown together, and look at what we've done. We're better than everybody. And it allows Jericho and Kenny to position themselves to step right in as a key challenger. And I think that would be really fun. I think there's some promo battles between Ricky and Jericho in particular could be a lot of fun. And we've seen Kenny play this babyface role quite well, where I think it'll be fun to see him go against a bigger guy like Big Bill. I think he could make Bill look like $1 million. Kenny's one of the best in the business at that. So that's just where my head goes with it. So I'm picking the Golden Jets, and then I'm playing my hand here. I'm picking Ricky Starks and Big Bill to retain.
I like that. You don't think Dax Hardwood is going to is good that way they did him dirty like that?
I don't know.
So AEW has had such sloppy social media, not as of late, but let's just say
Yeah,
6
they've
months
had
to
some.
maybe
They've had
18
some
months
moments for
ago.
sure.
They had so many sloppy things, especially you, Crayfish, being an English
that
major,
recording.
like catching these things, and they've had very, very sloppy stuff. This is the first kind of mess up that I've kind of seen over late. But sorry, as you were Mind Runner, the hardwood.
No, I that killed me, dude. And
Yeah,
I didn't even notice it.
if you also saw Roosh's nose, it looked like somebody was like claymation, like they over enhanced it, like with AI
Photoshop?
or whatever. It just looked terrible. But yeah, Dax Hardwood.
Yeah,
Now that
rock
I
hard.
reckon-
Better name,
I gotta shift back to. I agree with Cray on this one because
Ah.
I'm looking at this card and
Two
I
deals
see all
agreeing on
these
something?
feuds, but right now the bet like it's the Ricky Starks Big Bill versus Kenny and Jericho would be such a tremendous back and forth, and it's interesting that in a company that used to be known for its tag teams, that two form tag teams like that are at the top of the game. But I think what they're also setting up is whatever's going to go on between FTR, House of Black, LFI.
Yeah.
Not sure what's going to go on with Cash as far as his personal life. You know, I would love to see a Dax singles run for a while too. I mean, I think that would be tremendous. But I think they're setting up things for between LFI, FTR, and House of Black, then Ricky and Big Bill. And one thing I love, again, I think Ricky and Big Bill are shades of the old Shawn Michaels and Diesel.
Yes.
You know, and
Agreed.
I love that Big Bill is getting mic time. You know,
Yeah.
he's actually he's cutting some really, really good promos, and he's not just this thug behind Ricky. They are becoming a partnership, and I'm loving
Really
to
well
see
said.
that.
I
Yeah.
agree, Mind. I totally agree. I think that we've seen Big Bill in the past play a similar role where he was the background, he was the muscle. But I think that he's gone through a lot in his life, and I think that he's had to literally transform his career and go through and persevere through a lot. That I think he feels more, I guess, confident and comfortable with who he is as a person in the grand scheme of things. He knows that he fought through hell to get back to where he's at. I really like the kind of confidence that he brings. Obviously, I love the comparison to Shawn Michaels and
Diesel
and Diesel. My mind also went right away, the Scott Hall, Kevin Nash vibe. I mean, that's a great, like, just having the mouthpiece. A smaller guy who runs his mouth. The Shawn Michaels one is a better example. I really like where your head's at with Shawn Michaels and Diesel, because Ricky does have those vibes of early Shawn Michaels days. I think it's a great pairing, and I don't know, SPD. For me, I do tend to agree with Mind that there's a little bit of potential with the House of Black and LFI. That's where my mind goes with the way they've been building LFI and these vignettes and things like that. They have visions for where that group's going to go. But I think that this tag title run for the Big Bill and Ricky Starks still has a lot left on it for me.
I would like to really quickly nominate Courtney in our chat to be the new AEW social media manager, because she would never let a Dax Hardwood fly. Never. Ever.
Yeah.
We'd never let that mistake fly through.
But
SPD, what do you think,
what
man?
you guys are saying, like, give props where props are due. I really enjoyed Enzo and Cass in WWE.
Yeah, man, for sure.
I mean, it was no secret the struggles that he went through, and ever since his re-debut here in AEW, not only could you tell just his mind was so much in a better spot, but he looked like $1 million. And I was like hoping AEW would sign him. He was here and there, and now looks like he's here with us full time. I mean, he's got gold around his waist, and props to him, because there's not a lot of big men like him in the industry.
I agree.
So for him to be able to have some accomplishments like this, that he's been having the success in AEW, it's very, very fitting and rewarding and deserving, for sure, deserving to a Big Bill. But that being said, this, I agree. I think the Ricky Starks, Big Bill, AEW doesn't really play hot potato that much with the belts, which is good to me. And so, this is fresh with the tag team titles. Other than the TNT title, they used to play a little hot potato with that, which was fine to me because that's like a working man's title. It's like defending every single week, which I'm all for, like a new champ almost every single month. If you're going to have a fighting champ every single week, which I would hope for out of a championship. But that being said, I think my pick is for them to retain. It's easy because FTR is part of the henchman crew because CM Punk's the devil. So that group, they're going to be segued over there.
I love it.
And
I'm
then
all
you're gonna
for it,
have
baby.
LFI, who is a true trios feud with House of Black, which would be more fun, in my opinion, to have true trios fighting each other with in the newly babyface LFI, and have Roosh go toe to toe with Brody King, go toe to toe with any of those guys. Roosh is
and we know
becoming one of my favorite wrestlers in the ring, just because he just comes in there and just kicks ass. And I just can't. The Dax Hardwood versus Roosh tomorrow is going to be quite the battle. When they announced that, I mean, they are going to just beat the living crap out of each other, in my opinion. Two hard hitters, and I love a good hard hit. I mean, don't get me wrong, Ray Phoenix is my guy, and I love the flips and the innovation moves, but a hard hitting meat fest of Roosh and Dax Hardwood is going to be a lot of fun to watch tomorrow. So
it's the
retaining of it, I think there's more benefit for them to retain than to have a new champs.
I love it. It sounds like I've convinced you guys that what's going on here. I love it. I think we're all on the same page as a team. I'm into it. SPD, you take us to the next one. What's the next match you want to get into?
I'll kick it off, then I'll get myself a refill. Looking at the card. Back, I'm just.
We want to talk the other tag. We want to talk about the other tag team title match.
This is the one I want to talk about right here.
One
that's been here. I got to kind of form this because I don't have it fully.
The stinger.
The stinger, and so we're going to talk about the trios match.
It looks like House of Black is in this too.
I know. I didn't crop it.
I like it.
That's awesome.
Wait.
There we go.
But
we'll take it.
The Full Gear trios match, the one that has no gold on the line. Adam Copeland came on the scene with quite the debut and surprise. And a lot of questions were, if he does join AEW, is he going to feud with Christian Cage right away? Is he not? What's it going to take? But I'm glad to see where this is going. Christian Cage is, the top of his game, for sure. And we're preaching to the choir on that, as we all know. Really great stuff. There's no way, as much as I love Christian Cage and what he's doing, you have, I mean this in the most respectful way, two essentially weaker links on his team. If you're comparing the card, I love Luchasaurus, and I've said it before.
I am shocked to hear you talk that way about Luchasaurus.
But it's easier. Okay, it's easier for someone like Nick Wayne or Luchasaurus to take a pin in this kind of match than it is for Darby, Adam, or Sting to take a pin. When you have Darby and Sting still undefeated as tag teamers, and you have Adam Copeland,
it's hard to have Adam Copeland lose a match.
He could lose with some kind of cheating from Christian Cage.
Exactly. That's my only thought. Yeah, that's my only thought is, Christian. Oh man, Christian by hook or by crook. Like, think about if he could sabotage the first big debut, pay-per-view match for Adam Copeland. Just how much more how much more heated that rivalry could go. And that's where my head goes right away is, in these types of feuds, when the good guys win, it's hard. I feel like early, when the good guys win right away, it's harder to build that intrigue or that heat or that intensity in the feud. But I can't put it past Christian. He'll find a way. Wow, I don't see that happening. That would be crazy.
That would be wild.
That would be wild, man. That would be crazy.
But the more we're talking about it, to me, easy on paper. It's like if I was picking a bingo card with not talking to me, I'm like, all right, okay.
You wouldn't even think about
undefeated.
it.
Sting, Copeland, Darby. Yeah. But
what do you think, Mind?
As you're talking it out, it makes more sense to have the baby faces chase the heel.
That's where my mind went right away. Where I was trying to play devil's advocate. It was
I mean,
just
you
like
got Stinger on your
Devil's
wall.
advocate.
Yeah, devil's advocate. My mind just automatically goes there. But be the middleman here. Where are you at?
He is not a middleman.
Let's get the Well, I'm kind of the Moxley of this.
I feel like you're the. I feel like I agree. I feel like
all right.
you're the
Here's
neutral
a
party.
couple things. Let's first get out of the way of what we know is not going to happen. We know Christian's not going to get pinned clean in the ring. We know Copeland's not going to get pinned clean in the ring. Notice my phrasing: clean. I didn't say that there won't be some dirty work. Couple scenarios that could play out. One is shenanigans, and my dad, my surrogate father, I got to go with my surrogate father because he's got tricks up his sleeve. And
Always.
What would elevate him even more and make him even more of a scoundrel than if he could brag that he pinned a living legend in the ring, Sting. So if Christian Cage pins Sting in the ring,
oh my god!
Now I like Courtney's booking, except I would flip it. I would actually have Sting turn on Darby and go full Joker.
Wow.
Go Joker Sting. That's a possibility. I'm saying possibility. These are scenarios, right? These are scenarios.
Even though we know he's going to retire at Revolution, right down the road.
He's kind of playing all his greatest hits. Then he could bring out.
That's not. Now that you think about it, mind how wonderful would it be if that did happen and his last match is Darby versus Sting?
I think
at
that
Revolution,
and then he puts
over Darby.
Yep, I think there's storyline there. Darby's been kind of getting beat up. I think that now what's likely what would
because
be
what's the match? What's the payoff match for Sting at Revolution? What is the big stakes match for him if it's not
if it's not him and Ric Flair, which I'm not sure.
I don't want to see
that's
that
what
personally.
we're gonna have. I'm not sure we want that, but that would be that official passing of the torch. You did it, kid, and I think that's what they could build between now and Revolution. So I think I'm with Courtney, except
that's a great point.
I would flip it that way. And that could be, again, one of those things where then Christian's such a great heel. He's got to walk out of there with a victory. As much as I would see like Nick Wayne's going to get pinned or
that's my mind. Yes.
But I think
it's easy booking.
Can you imagine how wonderfully obnoxious Christian would be if he won? Now, I don't think they're gonna pin Adam Copeland.
I agree. They're gonna protect him.
He's gonna continue to chase it with the Christian angle, the feud. Meanwhile, I think we spin off the Darby Sting feud, and then you've got Edge versus Christian, or the man formerly known as Edge versus Christian. And I think there's a lot of build up to that. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is why we chat about it. That's why it's fun, because right off the top of my head, I think okay, I kind of go, even though I love the heel stuff, my mind goes the same path that SPD goes. It's all right, Nick Wayne's in this match. He's eating the L. That's why he's there. All right. Yeah. It's easy
Just
for Nick Wayne.
People what they want. Feel good moment of the night.
Exactly. Nick Wayne eats the L. It doesn't hurt anybody involved, right? Nick, it allows Christian to maintain his heat. He can be a scumbag by being more of a jerk to Nick Wayne if that's part of the story. He could, and then he could blame. He could say Adam Copeland, he could never pin me. That type of thing. Christian is smart enough to play off an L and navigate it well. So my mind right away goes to Nick Wayne's in this match. He's eating the L. It gives everybody a pop. It makes Adam Copeland's pay-per-view debut feel like a happy, feel-good moment. And you allow the Stingers.
But have you watched wrestling? I mean, feel-good moment. Come on, man.
You're right. You are right. You're right.
Snatch it away from the fans.
They snatch. You're right, and that's why we chat about this stuff, because now that we talk, I would never in a million years, even though I love now that we're talking about it, I love the idea of Sting having that last
That's
run.
brilliant.
Because it gives him a clear focus towards Revolution, and it allows that match to have a purpose that would serve the company, and it would really end the whole Darby Sting relationship on a level that no one would expect. I really like that, and it's like right away you're like, man, Sting turned heel. Like I don't know,
Not going to happen as much as I think it's cool.
It's kind of a
He's
cool
got
idea.
4 months left of his
Come
career.
on, SBD. It's showtime.
I like that. I mean, because giving Sting versus Darby at Revolution 1-on-1, it has a purpose and it tells a whole story. It gives a whole arc to Sting's time in AEW. I like it. That said,
it will still happen regardless if he turns heel. I think that's probably be his farewell match. Who else would it be?
But what are the stakes? Like, why would they have that match if there's nothing? If there's nothing there to it? One of them has to turn on each other. There has to be something that happens that sparks as a catalyst for why they would fight. They've been undefeated as a team.
Right now, Darby is at the risk of becoming boring, becoming the same little ragdoll that gets beat up but somehow gets the win. He's at the risk.
That's why I didn't like him for a while. And Crayfish was the conductor of the Darby Express.
But imagine how much juicy meat is in that steak of a Sting turn and a Darby versus Sting feud. That I'm with Cray.
Because I'm intrigued by it.
At his last match, at the end, Sting gets up, paints off his face at this point because they had
shakes his hand,
and like you did it.
And then Sting's never going heel.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's hard to argue Brian's point. There are certain guys that you just like, even though it would be a huge W for Team Heel to be able to get the Stinger at the end of his career to join us. I would love that. But my head, like, if you had to just put gun to my head, what am I saying? I'm gonna do the easy booking. I'm not gonna book Adam Copeland and Sting and Darby to lose a match where, as SPD said, you have a built-in scapegoat. You have an easy L in Nick Wayne. That's why he's here. Let the little pipsqueak take the L and move forward with the story. The end of the day, the story is not about Nick Wayne, Luchasaurus, and Christian versus Darby, Sting, and Adam Copeland. It's about Christian versus Adam Copeland. So let those guys take the L, move on, allow the story to focus on those guys. Christian could be that much. I think he would do a great job at browbeating Nick Wayne for costing him the L. And if you want to do things right, you do it yourself type of thing. That's where my head goes. So, I mean, this was a really cool conversation, though. I really like, because there's some stuff that I would have never, because it's one of those where SPD, like, I'm sure you were like, oh yeah, this is an easy one to book. Like, when you're looking at the card, this is one of the easiest ones to pick. Having this conversation adds layers to it where there's some doubt in my mind. And right away, again, I think the chase is always more fun for the babyface. But we'll see. This was a really good one. I'm still going back and forth in my head about this one.
I'm Team Courtney, though. But like I said, I'm switching it there where it's Sting that turns. I think we'll see. We'll see.
I like it.
Why don't
all
we
right,
talk about some of the women?
Yeah. All right. Let's do it. Let's talk about a women's match. Which one do you want to talk about? You want to talk about the TBS or the women's championship?
Let's talk. Can we talk about the TBS?
Sure. Go ahead, buddy.
Okay.
Lead the way.
I'm struggling with the women's division lately. I'm really trying to figure out what the plan is. Now, I know how you guys feel about Red Velvet. I don't like Red Velvet the cake, but I really like the superstar. I like to stir it up. I'm confused why you bring Red Velvet back immediately and kind of pull a Taya Valkyrie on her, where she loses her debut match. She wins a second match on Collision, a throwaway match, and then loses to Sky Blue, and you don't put her in. If you weren't going to put her in the title picture, have her do a match on the side, not involved in this. I'm not as I'm losing my faith in Sky Blue. I'm not sure she deserves to be there just yet. Julia Hart, on the other hand, abso-friggin-lutely. Julia Hart,
surprisingly
1,000%. Now, I'm not saying Sky Blue hasn't been working hard, but like look at the again, the AEW roster is oozing with female talent, and we just lost the Bunny, and it's like now it's like Sky Blue is in this triple threat. I don't know. I understand there's the whole Julia spit in her face and she's spitting back, and that might be good on Brazzers or something. But here, this is like this is
you went there.
This is compelling though, and I don't think Chris Statler is going to lose. Now, what I think is going to be a very cool part of this is I think this is when we're going to learn who the new signing is, because I think this is when Mercedes Moné is going to show up. Because if you think back to All In,
juice to this match.
When they were focusing on Julia Hart, they kept cutting to Mercedes Moné. So and Tony Khan, when he has a plan,
you're right.
He likes to go with it when it's ready. So I think he's patient. He'll wait until everybody's ready to do something. So I think he's waiting for Mercedes Moné to come in. I think we're gonna see a Mercedes versus Julia.
Well, wouldn't it be compelling then if Julia won this match? I mean,
because you don't want to because then again that takes away from Stat as the champion. Let Stat go and defend it against another adversary. Because then Julia and Mercedes won't need a title on the line to have any kind of feud. If Mercedes comes in and costs Julia the championship, then let me ask you this question. If it's Mercedes Moné, do you insert her into a championship match immediately, or do you let her feud with somebody first, kind of like Adam Copeland?
I mean, you're talking to a huge Sasha Banks fan.
Yes.
So I would put the belt on her almost immediately.
That being his top superstar for a long time. So
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't waste a lot of time. She's not somebody who needs a ton of you're going the whole Brazzers route. There's not a lot of foreplay that's needed with the Mercedes Moné run in AEW. I wouldn't waste a lot of time. I think I think you right away. I mean, you have one of the biggest stars, and you're talking about being disappointed in the women's division. That is a star that would make this company. I don't know. To me, she's one of the biggest stars of the last 20 years in women's wrestling. She carries herself like a star. Everything that Sasha or Mercedes does, to me, stands out in women's wrestling in a good way. This is an example to me, though, where I was not. This is the one match on the card where SPD would go back to the beginning, where you're like, is there a match that should be on the pre-show? This was one that to me I was not super into. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, all right, well, I get it. They have spent a lot of time, and I know that women AEW gets a lot of flack for not putting enough time and energy into the women's division. But they have spent a lot of time on this story. If you think about it, I mean, Sky Blue, the slow decline of this bubbly, happy personality that we saw when she debuted really in AEW in Chicago. To see this person who was just happy to be here and kind of skipping out and just kind of being one of a personality that fans could relate to now her slowly declining into this darkness thanks to Julia Hart, who you said it, Mind. I think Julia has been a pleasant surprise in the way that she's leaned into this character. And not only is she doing a great job with character work, I think that Julia Hart's been actually really good in the ring.
Much better. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Mercedes Moné fan, but with women that are that small, Julia Hart kind of fits that mold with as Mercedes, where she's definitely not built like Statlander, right? So sometimes it's harder for those types of women to have their offense feel compelling. And I feel like Julia hasn't pulled a lot of punches in her matches. I think that she's actually done a very nice job feeling like a well-rounded heel. I think her character work, her presentation has been incredible with the House of Black, but she's backing it up in the ring. So I actually think she could handle being a champion for a bit. And it would be intriguing to move the belt in that direction. And one of the main reasons why I say that is I think that maybe where does Sky Blue fit into this scenario? Does she go full heel? Do you then have Sky Blue kind of cost Chris Statlander the belt and have them have a little side feud while Julia takes the title? I only ask these questions because for me, while you said it feels like you're struggling with Sky Blue in this match, I'm going to be fully transparent. I think that this is an example of where the belt is making the person the champion rather than the champion is making the belt. I don't think that Statlander has. I do think that maybe the reason why you keep the belt on Statlander is because I don't see her staying super relevant in AEW without it. I think that there were a lot of us who were chomping at the bit for her to be the one to dethrone Jade. I think that the way that all went down, they botched that. I don't think that went very well. The way that they like, and some of that had to do with Jade, her departure to WWE. But I just don't think that went super well with Statlander's injuries and stuff. But like, and the way Taya Valkyrie was in that story, I just look at it and I just like, there's not a lot to me. I'm not seeing Statlander standing out to me in a good way. And I hate to be a downer in this scenario. I just feel like she needs the belt for her to feel important in AEW right now. I don't really know that she's a character that stands out without it. So maybe that's why they keep the belt on her.
Yeah.
But if I was booking, I would want my title to be on a character that I think carries more, I guess, oomph or brings a little bit more to the table than what Statlander has brought. She's had a trial run here. I think it's been a bit of a miss, and I would move the belt to a character who I think Julia Hart. I think people will tune in to see Julia Hart. That would be my pick.
Mind Runner?
I think Stat retains. I think they're going to play out what's going on with Sky Blue and Julia here. I think we may. I think it's a fifth. I'd like to see somebody get involved, whether it's Mercedes Moné, maybe it's Julia with a G, maybe it's a returning Thunder Rosa, perhaps. I don't know if she's ready for it. We've got people that are set to return. I mean, at some point, Hayter's going to come back, but if I can say this about the women's division in general. Case in point, this is the first pay-per-view I remember where there's no D.
Oh, God, you're right.
D. Now, granted, she's probably nursing Adam Cole back to health. I'm sure he's
the devil, a.k.a. the devil.
The devil. I mean, again, if Britt Baker turns out to be the devil, okay, hats off to him if they pull that off. But yeah, I'm surprised. Like, this is... I feel like there should be some more build-up here. I feel like, there is story, but I just think it's interesting that this is this. And if we talk about the other women's match, it's like we're leaving some meat off the bone here.
You're going with Statlander? You're taking Statlander to retain?
Yeah, or as we call it, Snacklander.
Yeah.
So
you're taking her to
interesting
retain.
To hear you guys both
SPDU?
talk about this match. And I do enjoy what's been going on for a while. I have been a Statlander fan a long time. I like her in-ring stuff. I like a powerful woman such as Statlander, Jade, Thunder Rosa. Because my biggest gripe of any women's wrestling is the over choreographed, the lack of making it feel real. And
Statlander definitely does feel real. You're right.
Whoops your ass.
Yep,
Thunder's one of those who whoops your ass. Jade was very impressive in her very short tenure as a professional wrestler. So Statlander was always one that stood out to me. And I really enjoyed – I was happy she dethroned Jade because I've been calling for that before her injury because there wasn't many people who could go toe for toe, pound for pound for her, suplex for suplex. And then I really did enjoy her initial run as TBS champion. This backside of her run – has been kind of lackluster. I just don't think she's been given the opportunity. I don't think she's been giving that open challenge opportunity like she has early on, fighting almost every single week. That being said, my pick is Julia Hart for this to win because I think there is more intrigue to a new champ on this one. And I think you could have Sky Blue be her first feud with the belt. Essentially, Statlander I think they could pivot her into another program. Yes, I do think she is way more relevant currently with the belt. Doesn't mean that she can't be relevant without the belt, because I
I
think she
agree.
is one of the top tier in the women's division. I would not, if Mercedes is signing with AEW, I would not insert her in this feud. I think the AEW women's belt that
Has
Sheeta
the
currently
prestige.
holds, that is the more top tier position you'd want to be in. Now we can segue into that in a couple minutes, but if Mercedes Moné is and win, or if she does come to AEW, I think you need to simmer and save that for one of three people, or one of three positions, a DMD, a Thunder Rosa, or an Outcast, or an outsider, a Saraya.
Well, what if Tony Storm beats Sheeta, and you have
I don't
Mercedes
think
versus
Tony
Storm?
Storm. I think we're already seeing
Personnel.
hints of what's going on with Tony Storm with the new signing, and I think her over the top character, which I love, I don't think it's fitting to feud with Mercedes at the moment.
That makes sense.
Mariah May's going to
a
cost
trash talking, serious feud.
Britt Baker's a perfect counter
Exactly.
to her. I agree. I mean,
so
I get it.
You could have, if she did show up, it could almost be like a double swerve where she debuts and then DMD comes back. It's like would make us all like pop with that. So that being said, I think Julia Hart, I think it would be a great reward for her hard work and her character development. It would not be a notch on the Chris Statlander's run. I think was pretty, a lot to hold your head head high for, especially who you've beaten, how long you had the belt. And I think the TBS could be more of I think it needs some refreshing in a sense. I'm all for it. If Statlander wins, I would be happy as well. But I think it would be more. I'd be more plugged in if Julia Hart wins.
That's my thought.
That's a good point. That actually is a really good point. Yeah.
Yep.
Now before we keep let's keep the women's division topic going.
Let's do it.
Timeless Tony Storm versus Hikaru Shida. Potentially, we're going to have 2 3-time champions if Timeless Tony Storm does win. Someone who's been quite entertaining on and off screen. I think the character's work that she's been doing is, I mean, we can unanimously agree, is pretty original and pretty spot on and awesome. But another one of those situations where it's like, does she need a belt? I think almost losing would be more comical for her to be like just so dramatic. I think she's going to be dramatic whether she wins or loses, but I almost don't think she needs it because we're tuning in for the Tony Storm segment with or without
regardless. Yes, you're right.
Hikaru Shida gives you depth to the women's division as a fighting champ with the gold, and more spotlight with other women to try to take the belt from her. So I don't. This is one that I could go back and forth. I'd be happy for either one. Timeless Tony Storm, I think, would be fun with the gold because she'd just be like even turned up even more. Loss should be turned up even more. But I think if you want to keep Sheeta on the screen, I think she needs to be holding the gold for just a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. I think it'd be funny to see. I think it'd be funny to see Tony Storm win and hold it like an Oscar, like you like me, like this. But I don't think so. And I wonder if the plan is for Mariah May to somehow accidentally cost Tony Storm the match. But you got to. Sheeta's a fighting champion. Sheeta is like a hero character that we need, and you can insert her into any feud. And she's going to put on a great show. And something that Craig said earlier about Tony Storm is Tony Storm doesn't need the belt to be compelling. She is compelling, and she's better when she loses because she throws that mommy dearest, all about Eve fit, like they hate me. Luther, go punch somebody, Luther. She'll get all upset. So I think Sheeta retains. But this could also be, I mean, who knows what's going to happen. If this could also be a moment where somebody gets inserted. But I think what happens here, Mariah May somehow costs Tony Storm the match. Tony throws a fit, and we build that up. And then Sheeta will face somebody else at some point. Time to keep it on Sheeta for a while. She's earned it.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, in my heart of hearts, I want Toni Storm to win. I think that she's been absolutely gold in this whole new transformation of her character. Actually, funny. One of the rare moments. One of the rare moments where like I will watch a picture in picture for her silent films. I just think that she's done really great work. I think she's hilarious. I think she's doing. I'm really a big advocate and a big fan of what she's doing right now, and I think that like if you gave her the belt, like I think she would run with it and it would be a blast. But I tend to agree with you guys. I think that like it would kind of be more fun to see how she responds to a loss and allow her to continue on this like kind of fringe madness before she eventually becomes successful again. I would like that chase to be a little longer for her character, and I'm with you, Mind. I think the way that they've slowly introduced Mariah into this, something is going to happen at the pay-per-view with her, and that's potentially a built-in feud, kind of like the Trish Stratus. Oh gosh, I just forgot her name. I feel horrible now.
Mickey James.
Mickey James, thank you. Yes, a Hall of Famer in her own right. Similar to the Trish Stratus, Mickey James dynamic when Mickey was brought in as like an obsessive fan. This is a similar vibe. I like it. I think that there's a lot there. And let's be transparent. Again, I think that Sheeta, always a good hand, somebody who will always do great in-ring work, a lot of fun when she's in her matches. But like Sheeta does, I think, need the belt because she doesn't have the personality per se that Toni Storm has, right? Like Sheeta deserves.
She's got all the personality, crayfish. What are you talking about?
Hey, I'm talking about Toni. She's got the personality. Come on,
yeah, that's right.
I'm not talking poorly about your girl.
I want to make sure you're set right here, crayfish. I mean, we got so much personality coming out of our shows. It's great.
Exactly. I think
you
Juice is another example.
Her little underwear peaches that she gives to everybody. Break me off a piece of that.
I think the Juice and Toni are two perfect examples of big personalities that don't need titles in order for you to want to watch them. And Juice,
well,
I'm
I don't know about
right now, but
don't need titles part, but I mean, I need my I got my diamond ring still. We bought it at Macy's.
TJ Maxx.
TJ Maxx, that's right. TJ Maxx. They're all the same. But I the biggest juice is what came out of MJF's noggin when I knocked him the skull open.
There you go, rock hard.
Well, I'll let you guys get back to it. I just want to make sure you were talking well,
of course,
about my girl.
I would never talk poorly about Toni Storm. I want Toni to win. I just think that unfortunately things aren't going to go her way right now, rock hard. I hate to break the news to you. I think that might be a theme of this pay-per-view for you and the people that you care about, my friend.
Well,
unfortunately,
I tried to tell her about Mariah May. I said, Mariah May. She said, who? I said, Mariah May. She's from Stardom. She said, who? I said, she looks just like you. She said, who? I said, she's blonde and she's Russian. She said, who? I said, yeah, the one that was just in your locker room. And she said, oh. And then I said, the other girl. All right, I'll let you boys get back to it.
Thanks, Juice.
See you, rock hard.
This is the perfect segue. Let's talk about the tag match with the Guns and MJF. I mean, we just got to run in from Mind. I love seeing the Guns and Juice, their entrances. They work so great together. My favorite thing when I talked about right away when we saw the Guns joining up with Juice and Switchblade was, man, the energy of Rock Hard with Austin Gunn is going to be so great. And it has not failed. I look forward to that. Those guys being on the show every time they're on.
Yep.
Without question, as far as Team Heel goes, I am all in on Bullet Club Gold. I think that they got the it factor. They're cool. Their entrance is incredible. They have a good variety of personality, in-ring skill. They got like kind of the cool, calm leader in Jay White, who is one of the absolute best pro wrestlers on the planet. Then you got the second in command with Rockhard, who's the over-the-top personality. And the Guns fit right in because these are guys who got the personality, and you're slowly seeing Colton gaining more and more confidence in his promo work. I think being part of this group, he feels more and more comfortable being himself. He's got that cool vibe to him. And Austin, obviously, a bigger than life personality. These guys are crushing it, man. I love Bullet Club Gold, and I want desperately for them to win this. But with MJF and a mystery partner, it just leaves the door open for Samoa Joe to insert himself here. And if that's the case, I don't know how this plays out. It makes me have a little bit of doubt that MJF won't lose. I don't know. Where are you guys at? Because this is one where if I'm booking selfishly, I'm picking the Guns all day, every day. I want those guys to get a run with the belts. I think that especially because I don't see Jay White dethroning MJF later on in the show. We'll talk more about that. I don't see that happening. I think the Bullet Club Gold needs to have some gold in the group. And I think that these guys would make great tag team champions for ROH. But just the unknown of who MJF's partner is going to be makes me have a hard time picking this one. What do you guys think?
Is it official he's going to have a partner?
Well,
I think he is.
I think so. I mean,
on paper, so I think they would give him a partner just to protect him for the main event, so he doesn't have to work a match the whole time. But also, it would be really cool to have the Guns just go in and just like squash MJF because power number 2-on-1, get the belts from them. You know, MJF looking for a partner and not getting a partner because no one's around. And that way you do get the gold on the Guns.
Devil character and the impact that the Devil and his crew has had, eliminating all of MJF's friends.
But I think, you know, it'd be smart to protect MJF with a partner so no injuries or anything that were to happen for the main event. It's kind of ballsy to do, which they did at All In as well. You know, they had that tag match at the beginning of the show, and then you have the main event. So you work the double duty.
Do you not think that Samoa Joe, I mean, like the story has been so like built around Samoa Joe offering his friendship to MJF?
I don't want them to team together. Does that mean they'd be champions officially then?
Would that be interesting though? Like he is clearly gunning for MJF's title, but they're forced to be partners. Does that offer a level of interest at all?
There's no forcing. He's volunteering.
And the hard thing for me to wrap my head around that is like you're going to give up the ROH television title and then you're going to go win the ROH tag titles. Like it doesn't really make, like, I don't know.
Is it like keep your friends close but your enemies closer? Like, you know, he's my enemy but he has what I want, so I'm going to team with him until I can get what I want. But that's essentially like the Adam Cole story. Like if Adam Cole is the Devil, he kind of teamed up with his enemy, his rival, then they had the success, so he's keeping his enemy close.
This is a tough one for me. It's just like I really don't know where they're going to go with the tag partner. I mean, to me, the logic, the way the story's been playing out, it's going to be Samoa Joe. But it would almost be more fun, I think, if he's still watching in the back and MJF turns him down and goes out there by himself. It gives MJF more babyface vibes. It allows MJF to be defiant to Samoa Joe, and I want the Guns to win this so bad. I mean that's where my head goes to.
Title. I think he does because
with Adam Cole not there,
it's not doing him any good. It's not like he's appearing on ROH TV.
Yeah, and with Adam Cole not there, I get that the story that you want to milk that friendship, but I don't think it's necessary to have them be tag champions for them to be friends. Yeah, I don't know. So are we all on the same page then? We're all picking the Guns.
Well, first thing's this is I think that there's no doubt who his tag team partner is going to be. It's going to be it's going to be Samoa Joe. I think we're all in agreement there, but I think the Guns have got to get it. The ROH tag title tournament was the gimmick that got those guys together. You know, that's what got Adam Cole and MJF to become friends, you know. But and then you could still have if if Adam Cole is not the devil, you could still have MJF and Adam Cole try to go back and get him from the Guns. But
Yeah,
I
you
don't.
can
I
revisit it.
don't think. I think it's the Guns all the way in this one.
Yeah, I mean, if Joe is his partner, does Joe walk away? Does Joe turn on him in the match? It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to win. I mean,
think about how. Well, I was just going to say, think about how compelling it is. Guns win. And then Samoa Joe beats the crap out of MJF.
Afterwards,
is he going to be in shape enough to retain? And you've got, and again, MJF has been the guy in all these episodes. So if at 0 hour, that's gonna be the first match. You've got the entire pay-per-view wondering, is MJF gonna be okay? Is he gonna be okay? Is he gonna be okay?
Backstage segments.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then finally he comes out.
Or you could play
smart.
it where like MJF goes out there alone. You do cut to Samoa Joe back there and like him turning him down earlier in the RJ pre-show and all that BS. And then Samoa Joe like is walking down to the ring and like, I'm still here. You just got to say the words and I'll be there. And then the Guns pull up. I hate to say it, but a roll-up win for the win. Even though I hate roll-ups where he's like on the ramp, he's like, hey, I'm here, come find me. And MJF's just like, looking at him, and then the Guns pull a roll-up win, and then Samoa Joe's like, I told you so. I told you so. I could have been there to help you out.
Yep.
And then
that is something the Guns would do too.
What if it is all right? It's just MJF versus the Guns. MJF's holding his own. He's getting beat up, and then all of a sudden you hear Samoa Joe walks out, gets onto the ramp, and then just smiles and shakes his head, and then walks back into the thing. He does his nope. He does the nope on the ramp.
Yeah, there's definitely like intrigue here. And I do think that Samoa Joe is going to be involved in this in some way, shape, or form. But I think that the Guns could bring like, not to say that like any of us are fighting to like want to see more ROH titles on TV, but I think the Guns are a team that, let's be real, we talk about workhorses. This is a tag team that could easily go out and wrestle week after week. They could make it their mission to make the ROH titles. Like they talked about it on the last Dynamite. Like they want to bring credibility. They want to make those belts mean something. They view like what MJF is doing. He doesn't defend the belts ever. I mean, you know what I mean? Like they want to make it look like. It just gives that team a little bit more. This is an example where I think the ROH titles could actually give an AEW set of talent more, I guess, prestige or more visibility. Where I think a lot of times like the ROH belts haven't meant much on AEW television. This is an example where the Guns are considered a lesser team in the big picture than the FTRs and the Bucks and those types of high level tag teams.
Hey, they beat FTR.
Trust me, I know. But even in the eyes of the fans, right? This is a team that like continues to have to like get respect and fight for respect. Throwing some gold on their shoulders adds to that. And again, I think that Bullet Club Gold needs some of that coming out of this pay-per-view. I'm going with the Guns.
You guys put them up because we're all going. It's going to be Guns up for gold, baby.
Love it, baby. Love it. I can't wait. I think that those guys are the perfect personalities to have golds on their shoulders. That they're really leaning into this Bullet Club Gold stuff. It's really working right now for them.
Have you noticed the Ass Boy chants are becoming less and less?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the fans try to start them, but they don't last like they used to. They're not like, I mean, and I think a lot of that goes into, I know that the Bullet Club Gold, they're presented right now as the heels, and they're going against the most popular act in the company with MJF. But I think that it's because the Bullet Club Gold has a cool factor, man. I think people want to cheer for them. I think that these are guys that, like, I mean, Juice Robinson, the Guns, these are personalities that jump off the screen. If you're there, I don't know. I think there's a certain level that you want them to, even though you want to boo them, you want them to be successful. That type of vibe.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree.
Yeah.
So we got, I know we're running kind of long. We got two more matches, or we just want to end with the main event right now?
What we got? MJF versus Switchblade. What's the other one that we're missing?
Moxley versus OC.
I think we can go really quick on that. Let's touch on that
yeah.
very fast, and then we'll jump into the main event.
I'm
I will
pumped
be
about this match. Honestly, I am excited,
Yeah.
especially because Mox can sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. I mean, the guy makes any match seem like it's a real fight and just a relevant. I mean, the guy is just so
his
damn
promos
good
are great, man. His
on the
promos
stick.
are awesome. Yeah. He's made
Whether
this
it
match
be the
feel
backstage
personal.
stuff, the pre-match, post-match stuff, in-ring stuff. Man, the threats that he has for OC and just he's a scary guy. He's legit a scary guy, man. And when he can back it up too in the ring, and he talks the talk, walks the walk better than most. And so, I know I texted out, but I don't want to see Mox lose. I really don't, because he's been one of the most protected guys in AEW. Orange Cassidy's
So is
had
Orange
this.
Cassidy, though. My God.
I know he's beat Chris Jericho in the orange bubbly match or whatever they wanted.
Orange Cassidy is like one of the most built guys in this company. I mean, his
most
championship reign. I don't know. I will say, I will give you credit here. I agree in the sense that like Moxley has made this feud feel personal, and it could be a very throwaway match between these two guys. That like on paper, you're like Orange Cassidy and John Moxley fit together just like, I mean, oil and vinegar. They don't go well. They're like oil and water. Like they don't want to.
Hey, I like oil and vinegar.
I do too. Oil and water. They want to separate, right? They like these two guys just don't fit. And but on paper, they don't. Their personalities, their in-ring style, the intensity of Moxley versus the laid-back, chill vibe of Orange Cassidy. But it's an example where Moxley's bringing a little bit more fire out of OC than we're used to seeing. I mean, we saw the Orange, during the middle of Moxley's entrance, rush out to fight him in the crowd. I think that we saw him get humbled a little bit at Dynamite when Moxley just ate an orange punch and smirked at it. And you saw OC kind of on the outside of the ring wondering what's next. That said, man, I mean, like, it's hard. We do these things with like the booker, putting your booker hat on. Well, it's really hard because I wouldn't be booking Orange Cassidy to be this much of a feature of the show. Tony loves Orange Cassidy. It's very hard to decide to pick against him because we know
He loves Moxley too.
TK loves Orange Cassidy. TK's not getting dressed up as John Moxley for Halloween. TK loves Orange Cassidy. So it's hard to go against him, but I'm picking Mox, man. I want Moxley to win it. I'm not going to go against him. I want Moxley to win this match. I think that, like, if Moxley eats a loss to Orange Cassidy, it hurts some of that, like, tough guy, badass vibe that Moxley carries. It just does. And I know that, like, they've done a lot to try to make Orange Cassidy feel like he could be on that same level as a Moxley. But it's hard for me to buy it. Moxley.
There are very few people who should beat Moxley. Very few. The list should be very, very small that should get a win on Moxley.
Should be like on 4 fingers.
Yeah, on one hand. On one hand.
All I'm going to say is Moxley needs to win. I think the plan has always been for Moxley to have this belt, and I think until the audible was called where Ray Phoenix took it, and Ray Phoenix got hurt. I think that's the whole plan. There may be a little twinge of a Orange Cassidy trying to cheat to maintain because if his normal arsenal's not working, are we going to start to see a bit, not really necessarily heel, but a bit of a twinge of a
level of desperation?
Yeah, so I think we'll see that, but I think John Moxley's going to get it, and this is going to open such a door for Moxley to globetrot in this like mayhem and bleed all over the world. Yeah, this is going to be one of those moments where he could just continue. I mean, I think he's bleeding already right now, and then just that way he can just. But it helps.
He is the perfect international champion given his like connection with New Japan. No, I agree with you, and it takes the international championship, and again, props to OC's not my and I think it's very clear. OC is not my cup of tea, right? But OC's title reign, I give him his props. He surprised me in a lot of ways. So I'm not going to talk bad about the guy. He did perform in a lot of ways where he surprised me, and I got to give him his just due. But I think that Moxley could take the international championship to a different level. His matches feel must see. And to me, I think he would bring a different level of intensity, a whole different realm of types of matches that would be exciting to watch, right? I mean, like the SPD talked about wanting to see like guys just beat the crap out of each other. That's what Moxley does. And to bring that kind of vibe to the title would be fun. So I'm going with Mox. Let's jump to the main event real quick here, fellas. This is a tough one because on a personal level, I want so desperately for Switchblade to get that belt, and I want him to get a run with it at the top. And I don't know if he loses this match, I don't see a natural fit for him to be a world champion anytime soon if he were to lose this belt. So, and I think Bullet Club Gold is hot right now. So it's hard not to say like, oh, strike while the iron's hot. Go for it. The belt looks good on Jay White.
It does.
I was particularly a little hard on Jay.
Belt.
I was hard on this feud a little bit in a couple weeks past where I felt like Jay's personality, his swagger, his style didn't mesh really well with MJF. But I think that since then, it's only gotten better. And I think that the promo at the end of Dynamite last night was top notch. I think he went at MJF. He showed confidence in his abilities, and he's a compelling challenger. I think that he is everything that he says he is. You watch Jay White, and this is independent of everything that he's done in New Japan. You watch Jay White in AEW, there should be no question that this is one of the most talented guys on the roster. I think, like, I know that SPD, I know you're a big Will Ospreay fanboy right now. You're really on the Ospreay train. I think Jay White's every bit as good as Will Ospreay. I don't think that there's a gap between them at all. I think
really
that,
like seeing Jay White. I don't know much about him outside of AEW, and I really, really have enjoyed his run here in AEW so far. And I'm glad he's been protected. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, SPD. He has been protected in a way where he is definitely looked upon as an elite guy. That said, I don't see how MJF loses the belt. I think there's so much story, there's so much build around him as the focal point of this company right now. He really is the straw that stirs the drink for AEW. He is the centerpiece. They've invested so much time and energy into so many other stories beyond Jay White versus MJF that I just don't see how MJF loses. I just don't see it. So I think MJF retains. When I look back on the show, I think that the only belt title exchange I have the Guns, and I have Julia Hart winning. So I have two title exchanges. I don't see this one being a change at all. Unfortunately, I think that although White could certainly be a champion, I think that there's just too much intrigue. There's too much story around MJF keeping the belts.
Well, you probably can tell by what I'm wearing which way I'm going. So I have to say, because MJF is the man going into 2024, he's got all these different storylines going on, and that's why Jay White is going to win the AEW championship. Jay White will beat MJF. Here's why.
Wow.
MJF doesn't need the title because of all these feuds developing. Right now, Samoa Joe is going to have his chance to mess with the MJF at the tag team and throughout the entire episode, the entire pay-per-view. You've also got Wardlow. Wardlow doesn't care about the title.
He doesn't care about the
Wardlow
title.
cares about destroying MJF and costing him everything. We also have the devil reveal. Who's the devil? What's going to happen? Whatever that is going on, here's the storyline. MJF loses everything at this pay-per-view because his best friend wasn't there to help him get it back or help him retain. Jay White now can go feud with so many others. You can now, like you said, Bullet Club Gold is hot right now. Bullet Club Gold is super hot. So is MJF. But MJF is still going to be popular. But it's always better when there's the chase rather than the hero. And in this case, MJF is kind of the scumbag hero.
He is.
Jay White keep getting the title legit would be so much more compelling than MJF retaining.
It puts Jay White over in a huge way. I struggle with it, mine, and as much as I'd love to see it, I struggle with it because I feel like a lot of the stories that MJF is involved in have added stakes because he's the champ.
But they don't have to. Not Wardlow. And even
yes,
so,
not
like
Wardlow. I agree with you on that. I think that Samoa Joe made it clear in his promo that he's going for he wants the world championship. Right?
Yeah, and so if he can get MJF beat up, now he can go into a program with Jay White. MJF's got to overcome Wardlow, and then we still have the devil factor.
You know that I've been lukewarm on MJF as a babyface. I've struggled with it a little bit, but I think that there's a lot of you've used this phrase throughout the show, meat on the bone. I think there's a lot of meat on the bone to watching him still squirm and like weasel his way through some of these scenarios. I don't see him losing. I think for me, I love your mentality, and quite truthfully, I would love to see Jay White be minted like that in AEW. I think that Wardlow is going to get involved in some point with MJF. I don't think it's going to be Full Gear. I do think it's going to happen. Like he talked about, when you least expect it. The Samoa Joe threat looming. I think he is clearly going to be positioned as the next challenger for MJF. And then the devil stuff, guys, like that is where the wild card comes into play. I don't think anybody really knows. And that's one of the cool things about this story right now is that the internet is guessing. Nobody knows. I've heard now recently the favorite is Kyle O'Reilly. People have no idea. People have no idea, and I love that. AEW has done an amazing props to them props to them for being able to have such a high stakes story going as long as it has been without any leaks getting out as to who it really is. I have to give them kudos in a big, big way for that. But yeah, man, I'm with Brian. I don't see. I like Brian's comment in the chat about Jay White's rise. I just don't see a way that MJF drops the belt and SPD. I go back to, you said this a while back. MJF is not losing the title for a long time. I think that his championship reign is going to continue into the majority of 2024. I don't think that
it's more of 2024.
I could see us talking summertime of
wow.
I could see All Out. I could see this going all the way through.
All
right.
No,
I don't know, man.
I don't think there's more meat on the bones with the MJF saga than ever right now, and that's what's very fun about the run, because it almost revamped and you were almost starting from scratch, I feel like, of what's going on. You know, he's wrestling more than ever. He's got more targets on his back than ever. And that's what's makes it more fun. And I think it's more fun that he's the champ with all these targets. So it gives an additional chase for some of these folks, whether you need it or not. Wardlow has his own personal grief. but other people he's crossed, it
Yep.
makes it even more. But he could have all these targets chasing him as a babyface without the belt. And months ago, Jay White was on near the top of the list before this feud started of someone that could dethrone him. As this panned out, I don't think it's the time. Unfortunately, Jay White is championship material, and the Bullet Club is pretty at the top of its game right now, which would be fitting for its time. But it's like, what balancing act do you want to do? Do you want to keep pushing this, what MJF's been doing, or do you want to change gears with Jay White, even though they're at the top of their game, which I don't think it's going to slow their momentum down at all?
No, I think that you can still keep Jay White protected. By I don't maybe this isn't like a necessarily purely clean win MJF has, right? Like MJF has been known to use tactics, underhanded tactics, and given all the people who are involved in MJF's story, who's to say that one of these characters doesn't get involved in some way, shape, or form in this match to cause some sort of distraction? I mean, there's so many things that could play out in this where Jay White could lose but still walk away with, hey, like, I never lost type of story or narrative to his, like, he could lose, but not like, you never prove that you're the better man type of thing, right? Like Jay White could still walk away from this match like, I lost, but you never beat me. You never proved that you're a better man than me. And that could give him motivation to still stay in the hunt. And just because Jay White loses this match doesn't necessarily mean that he would need to disappear as somebody who is nipping at the heels of MJF, right? I mean, that could still be, he could lose in a way that keeps him still as a credible challenger and continues to keep the Bullet Club gold circulating in the MJF saga. That could happen still, And
plus, Jay White's going to end up feuding with the Devil when the Devil reveals that it's Marco Stunt.
And that's a perfect feud.
Marco Stunt and X Factor redo.
I can't wait for X-Pac and Albert to be the I mean, SPD was building up the like one of the cronies, one of the henchmen was a big guy,
and there was one guy
it's Albert.
Like just incredible.
It's Albert. It's got to be Albert. I love it.
Just like Just Incredible. I mean, it completely.
I love it. All right, well, it's going off the rails. We talked about all the matches, guys. We had almost a 3-hour show. It's been a lot, guys. It's really been great.
It's going to be an awesome pay-per-view.
Full Gear. I mean, this is a pay-per-view that I think is a top to bottom really good card. I'm looking forward to it, man. I think it's going to be a great show. I like that it's on Saturday night.
Right.
I'm personally, on a personal level, I can stay up late, watch the show, and enjoy it. I think it's going to be a great card.
Yeah.
Let's do some. I'll help with some live tweeting on the show too. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think that's going to be awesome. Can we close out with Kota Ibushi's epic bicycle run?
Oh gosh.
Wednesday night.
Yes, let's close out with that.
Oh my God.
Did you edit this?
Oh, poor Coda.
That was great.
Yeah,
that made that segment actually worthwhile. Mine to edit. That was great. Wasted. I love it. Well, thanks for joining us. Those of you who were in the chat, those of us that we'll get our official picks out. I think we revealed what we're doing, so let's just get the official.
We're gonna sleep on
out
it,
there.
and then we'll get some picks.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, good chat with you. Look forward to talking more as the weekend gets closer here. Everybody have a great one. Thanks a lot.
Scissor
me, daddy ass.
Scissors.